Howdy, folks. Happy Tuesday. We're going to have games in the NHL tonight, which is, good news for us, and we'll keep our fingers crossed of no late postponements or positives. But we have some news from the World Junior, which is not exactly welcome. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but start us off with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
All right, so let's talk about some of the dumb names that they have for bowl games. I went to University of Houston. It just so happens when I was done watching ESPN, they were like, and now the University of Houston Cougars at Birmingham, Alabama, Iron City. And I'm like, I thought that was Pittsburgh, Iron City. But it turns out Birmingham is called that too, even though everybody thinks of Pittsburgh.
Well, it's Iron City beer.
Yeah, but it's Iron City because of the steel industry. Yeah. But at any rate, why Birmingham? I don't know. And then they say the Ticket Searcher Bowl. And I'm like, here we go.
Well,
dumb bowl names, man.
Dumb bowl. What are there more of? Dumb bowl names or dumb arena names? Like the crypto?
No, the bowl names. Here's the worst one.
Okay. I remember
December 31st, the Tony the Tiger Bowl. That ain't great. It's not.
Is it in Michigan?
I remember
El Paso, Texas.
I remember the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
Love the Tostitos. Well, again, it's because of sponsorship.
Right. Jesus.
Hey, I still remember the days of the Blue Bonnet Bowl.
Yeah, but Blue Bonnet, it doesn't sound bad, even though it's a butter. I know.
But Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, especially when they played in Arizona, made sense. I mean,
it did make sense. Here's some more. The Tax Slayer Bowl. What is Tax Slayer? Is that like an online? Is that a tax program now?
Yeah, so
that's in Jacksonville. Who wants to go to that? Now this one, I'm behind this one. The Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte. Duke's Mayo is better than Hellman's, and I'll fight you on it.
Hellman's sucks. It's terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's definitely not number one anymore. Duke's is number one.
It has. I've never had Duke's, but
years ago was the Hellman's versus Miracle Whip battle.
Yes, Miracle Whip. Forget it. Nobody.
Yeah, but okay. Miracle Whip isn't even categorized as mayonnaise. It's categorized as salad dressing.
Yes.
Yes, but no Kraft mayonnaise or Heinz mayonnaise.
Here we got the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando.
Jesus.
The Pinstripe Bowl. That one I could live with.
Well, it's Yankee Stadium. I mean, it makes sense.
The internet. Well, there was an international bowl in Toronto.
Now, this one seems to have their heart in the right place. If this is not a company, the First Responder Bowl. That's great. If that's not really corporate sponsorship, I could get behind that.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem with that one.
Let's see. There's a Military Bowl. I'm afraid of that one. Honestly,
is there a toilet? Is there a toilet bowl?
This one's awful. This is Detroit too. The Quick Lane Bowl. Like, is that for Easy Pass? Is that like?
Well, goalie FP in Twitter and in the chat has it right. The Tang Bowl.
That would be the U.S. astronauts against the Martians. Here, wait. The Camellia Bowl. I don't even know what company that is.
Yeah.
The
pumpkin spice Oreo. Now, okay.
I think Russ would have to do the coin flip just to start the game on that one.
The Gasparilla Bowl. I don't know what that is.
Sarsaparilla is an old version, like in the West. It was
Gasparilla, not sarsaparilla.
It was sarsaparilla.
Here we go. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Like, just shut it down, man. Seriously. At least it's in Idaho, but shut it down.
Is that played on that ridiculous blue
Boise
field?
State, baby. Love that field.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that stupid blue field. Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's so bad. Now, Anthony, I will not put up what you put up. He put because he misspelled her name, but he had the Sarah McLachlan Bowl.
And here's the last one, the Cure Bowl in Orlando. Like, what? It's a Cure Auto? Is that what that is? It's like auto. I think it's Cure. I think it's auto insurance. I don't even know. Yeah, I hate these bowl names.
There have been some really bad ones, but
So. The Tony the Tiger, that's the worst.
Yeah, but okay. The Crypto.com arena, the Jobbing.com arena,
Quicken Loans arena.
Quicken Loans arena, In Buffalo, we had the North Americare Park. It was an insurance company. But it's bad. It's really bad. Okay, let's get started here. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Tuesday, December 28th, 2021.
I'm Jan Levine.
I'm Russ Cohen.
I'm Anthony Mingioni.
On cue. Look at that.
Nice. Wow. And I'm Michael Magello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, let's start with the bad news. The Team USA was scheduled to play Switzerland at the World Juniors. I don't know if it was in Red Deer or in Edmonton. Probably in
Red Deer.
It was in Red Deer? Okay. 2 U.S. players reportedly tested positive, and that basically put the brakes on that game. And per the rules of the IIHF, prior to the start of the tournament, anybody who had positives and they couldn't clear the rest of the team, they would have to forfeit. So the U.S. loses to Switzerland 1-0 and gets no points. Obviously, it's not devastating because these teams are the U.S. will probably they have a victory. They're gonna be in the final.
Well, you don't know, Mike. Actually,
that's a brutal division. We talked about it yesterday.
It's a tough division, and honestly, we don't know how it's spreading throughout the team.
Well, that's the thing we have to worry about, because I believe the next game is tomorrow against Sweden, and that's why they couldn't postpone this game because they had to move that game. And if they can't clear, they might be done for the tournament, Russ.
Yeah, they could be done, and that's why they said there was going to be no relegations. Next year there'll be 11 teams. Right. It's going to be like a battle royal in Russia. But for now, this could be really tough. I mean, a side note for Scott Wheeler, there'll be nobody in the press box tonight, so don't tweet.
Russ with the rim shot. So I guess the question is also, wasn't there rumors that Switzerland the Swiss were having issues as well? So
what would it be a double forfeit?
That's what I'm kind of wondering. Like, why again? The U.S. does has a positive test. If it proves that Switzerland has the same, why should the U.S. get penalized?
I wonder if there was a cutoff time.
There's a cutoff time.
There's a cutoff time, and I wonder if the U.S. basically the timing of their tests.
Right.
I can tell you.
I mean,
it's speculation. I don't know, but there has to be some kind of a cutoff time.
And it's that the rule is 2 positive. If you can't prove everybody's a negative, then you have to give a forfeit, which is ironic given you do have extra players there, right? So good. If you have a positive test now, they played Finland already. They played Slovakia already. So now you're not concerned necessarily about those teams testing positive who faced against the players who may have been positive already. I mean, where are you actually drawing the line here in terms of cutoff?
The line drawn basically is if you have positives and can't make it to game time, you are forfeiting no matter which one gets it first. Like whoever reports it first, whoever has the problem, that's who has to forfeit. That's just the way it is.
And how long have they been in Red Deer, Russ, for now?
Since the 15th.
Right. So it's kind of interesting that they clearly got it there.
Right.
Oh, yeah. In a bubble. Like they've been doing
pretty much seconded separately.
Yeah, they've been doing a bubble situation, even though they haven't announced it that way because they have fans. I think aside from having fans in the building, we could at least now draw a conclusion that even if you have a bubble situation with this Omicron, you're going to have guys testing positive. Well, not a lot, not as many, but you're going to have them.
We know they're not getting it from the press box.
I'm sensing a theme, Mike and Russ.
Yeah.
Care to elaborate, or just want to kind of leave it out there?
No.
The hints, the whispers, and the innuendos. I guess is where we're going with.
Just check my timeline if you're interested.
Well, I know why.
I know you know.
Go ahead, Anthony.
No, that's the thing. We at this point now, the hope is that we get through. We actually managed to make it through the entire tournament.
Yes,
we don't know how. Again, this thing is the goalpost. I don't say the goalposts can't continue to be moved, but yeah, pretty much in terms of where things are in regards to how many teams are going to get it, and then when they get their testing. This is just like with the National Hockey League. Everything has been a day by day situation. They'll try to pull through it, but if you
Canada's going to win by forfeit.
And remember, we had to cancel the women's tournament because of concerns about COVID.
Well, and the thing is,
Yeah, that makes this look that decision even worse now.
And there are locations that have said they're more than willing to house the tournament. So there's a lot of pressure on the IIHF to change that policy quickly, given the number of locations that have said they're more than willing to host.
Yeah, with the continued rise of positives that are happening here, does that mean now the IIHF? I look at it more from the point of view of maybe the tournament shouldn't have happened. Period to start.
That could end up being,
or move it off to another time.
Yeah, you move it off to another time.
It's difficult to do, but that's really probably what happened. Regardless of this situation, the IIHF has egg all over their face anyway. Well, I think if both tournaments were out, they probably would have less of it on their face.
Well, I'll tell you the bigger concern now. So, the bigger concern now is where we have heard that, and Kevin Allen said on the show that, hey, some college kids have already said they've given sort of commitments to the Olympic team. Guess what? If these universities are going to have some of their guys quarantining before they can get back to the university and possibly put other students at risk and not go to class, these guys are never making it to the Olympics. No way.
What this also tells you is, like you just said, they were in a bubble since December 15th, and still people are testing positive. What this means is, if this continues, and it's going to continue probably for at least another month or so, running rampant throughout, bubbles are not going to work in the playoffs. Well,
we can't say that because they have fans there, Mike. It's 50% fans. If they got rid of all the fans, then we could say that. We can't say that yet.
Well, part of it depends, obviously, the interaction with others besides their own teammates. That's really where they're in the hotel, whether or not they're interacting with
people from what I've heard, they're doing it the same as last time. They have their own little rec room. They're all amongst themselves. And so I heard it's all the same as last time. The difference is they're fans, and it's 50%, except for when it's, Austria and Finland, then it's like 9%.
So looking at some of the games from yesterday, just briefly here, as you mentioned, the Finns, they beat the Austrians 7-1. I mean, that's, Austria is not a power, so they maybe took the foot off the pedal a little bit because they jumped out to a big lead. The Russians, I watched a lot of this game, Russ. The Russians beat Switzerland 4-2. Again, the Russians go with Guskov in goal instead of Askarov, which again, I get the feeling now it's like, is this some sort of power play going on within?
It is. It's clearly they wanted to embarrass Askarov, so they waited for a moment where they could pull him, never use him again, and now he'll go to the U.S. after the season, and whatever faction put Zubov in power and got their wish because they got to put this other goalie in, because I can't tell you how many times Gord Miller said, this guy's not as good as Askarov. Why is he in there?
Well, I mean, from the raw number standpoint, Askarov's goals against currently is what, over 4?
Right. He gave up 3 goals and I think 11 shots, and then
16 shots.
16 shots.
Right. In terms of those numbers, it was a quick hook. It reminds me a little bit, not obviously the same, the way it's set up, but it reminds me a little bit of what happened to Carter Hart.
Oh, yeah.
And you never know. I mean,
Canada's just as fickle, but Carter Hart did get back in there. I don't think Askarov has a chance.
What I'm curious to see about whether or not Askarov does end up back in net at some point.
Yeah, now, I will say this, Mike. The one thing that's fun about the Swiss is that they really did make the Russians think at one point. Didn't they put like 4 guys across, and when the Russians came into the offensive zone, like 2 of them looked at it like they had a thought bubble, like, what do we do? They made a pass, the Swiss intercepted, and they went the other way because they'd never seen that alignment before.
Yeah, there was some confusion there.
That was great. No, I mean, but that was great. At least the Swiss did something nobody had done before, and for a moment, it helped them. I enjoyed that.
It was the Emmentaler formation.
Yeah.
It was like the what was it, the Full House backfield that the Cowboys used in the 70s, or the single wing by Marv Levy and the Kansas City Chiefs back in the 70s. Yeah. Well, hey. Now the Germans with a big upset over the Czechs, 2-1 in overtime, Russ. I mean, Okay, did the defenseman that we talked about against Canada?
Juracek did not play.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's going to kill him. It really is. He's so talented.
We had 5 D-men yesterday. I think also yesterday they played with.
Yeah, it's going to kill him. I will say this: as a human, I have trouble trusting Czech goalies. I do. There's not a great list of Czech goalies. I can think of one that Anthony's thinking of right off the top of the head, who used to have really ugly wooden shoes. Roman Cechmanek, he had really bad shoes.
I asked Dominic Hasek and Carl Long, if you remember Carl Long from the 70s.
Yeah, but there's there's a lot in between.
I was more focused on the fact that Cechmanek was psychotic enough to try to stop pucks with his mask.
Yeah, that's true.
I wasn't looking at his shoes. Sorry.
But I will say that puck was eminently stoppable. Getting around the defense is one thing, but he really did not hug the post. But whatever, it was overtime. Maybe he was tired. Good for the Germans.
We're talking about Bednar?
Yes.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, I think Mike McKenna had a really good breakdown of everything he did wrong in the goalie book.
Yeah, he failed on every level on that shot. There's no question. I could see that. So I'm sure Mike went to town on that. But I give credit to again to the Germans. I mean they are increasing as a hockey nation. We're getting a lot more players in the league that are a lot higher caliber. And this is the great thing about this tournament is a lot of countries are starting to catch up to the powerhouses.
And I'm pretty sure I'm right. I think Peterka would have qualified for this tournament. I think he
would have.
So they're doing it without a couple players that they could have had. So you could see the excitement that the Germans when they celebrated that game. When the anthem was being played and the flag was being raised, they were like, because I don't know if that's their first victory in a long time. I don't know, but it was just.
I'm not sure.
It was joyful.
It was joyful. I will say this though, two guys for sure out of there. Florian Elias, I don't know why he didn't get drafted last year. He plays for Adler Mannheim. I had him on my watch list and really like this guy. I think I dumped him off my list last minute when I started to just sense that maybe I overrated him for the World Juniors. So I said, all right, let me because his season wasn't fantastic. And he's come back strong again playing center. Maybe somebody will draft him this time. And then there's Luka Munzenberger. Watch out for him too. It's a mouthful.
Or what about Ivan?
No, it's just Ivan, Mike. They went back and they spoke to the Billet family, and there's no middle name of Ivan.
It was always it's confusing. I remember this player being listed before Ivan, or we say Ivan is probably how it's probably pronounced in this case. But I saw the third name. I'm like, no, come on.
It's the World Junior version of Rochelle.
No, I was thinking of the line from Hunt for Red October. Con Sonar, Crazy Ivan.
It was just fun, though. Like, that was a fun moment. And I liked how they went back to the Billet family to find out, does he have a middle name? And they're like, no.
No, he's just Ivan.
So the other game yesterday.
He was Swedish, should be Ivan Ivansson.
Yes. The other game last night, Sweden beat Slovakia 3-0. So they're 2-0, and they always are fantastic in the preliminary round or in the round robin, and then when it gets to
Okay, well hold on, because I wrote an article for Full Press because again, you never know in this tournament. You really don't. No matter who we all pick, you never know who's going to win. And so I did broach that question with Wallstedt in net, who really is terrific. Like, he is going to be a fantastic NHL goalie someday. This could be the team with guys like Niederbach. I wrote an article. I mentioned 5 guys. I didn't even mention Niederbach or Eklund because their defense is so good with Helgi Grans and Edmondson. And so this team could be their team. And so I don't want to fall back on old things like that. And I want to just see what they can do.
And
Wallstedt was the show yesterday. 48 saves. I mean, he stole the game yesterday for them.
And Alexander Holtz as well. I mean, there's a ton.
Holtz is great. Minnesota got a hell of a steal on Wallstedt because everybody was focused on the other goalies, and Wallstedt went to them.
We were all discussing whether or not it was going to be him or Kosa, and Kosa ended up going ahead of him. So
and Kosa's not even playing.
Well,
you look at
he
Minnesota team
might
down the road with Rossi and with Kaprizov, and you add Wallstedt to the mix. They're going to be a very dangerous team down the road if all these young guys pan out.
Which is why, and by the way, I think Kosa might play for Canada against Austria.
No, Bobby Margarita already said that.
They're going.
Well, listen, that's his name now. That's what I'm calling him.
He's
He said that Brett Brochu from London is going to be the goalie for that game.
So they're playing the third goal. Jeez, wow. Okay. Yeah. So, but you know what?
It's a brand, Ant. What do you want me to do?
Oh, listen, Bob's a brand unto himself. We know that.
Going back to what Jan was talking about with Minnesota. The thing is, I mean, who knows how long it'll be before Wallstedt gets to the NHL? Maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't think that team is at the top of the Western Conference right now. They have a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup, but I don't think they will win a Stanley Cup with Cam Talbot and Kaapo Kakkonen as their goaltenders. So they're going to have to find a stopgap for about 2 years. Could it be
unless Wallstedt accelerates? We don't know.
Maybe.
You know how you are about that, Russ.
No. I get it. I'm not advocating it, but I'm just saying we don't know. You're right.
And then you'll be there complaining about the fact that they accelerated.
I probably will. Yeah. Goddamn right.
Well,
mark this date down.
So for some reason, Jan, I can't share the screen. It's not letting me, but I'll just read this off because this raised
you want the Mike Augello read anyway.
In dramatic style, Mike, please.
Yes, there you go. To use a Bob McCowan phrase, it raised a Spockian eyebrow when I saw the Brad Marchand tweet. And you know what? Marchand is a rabble-rousing pain in the ass on the ice and off the ice. Here's the message. The NHL and the NHLPA can change the rules of the CBA and add a taxi squad so that they don't miss any games and don't lose any money, which has already been agreed upon that the players will pay back in escrow until the owners are made whole from what they have lost during this pandemic, regardless of how many games are missed. Yet they can't do a taxi squad during the Olympics so they can honor the agreement they made with the NHL players to go. Please tell me that's not bullshit. And for all of you who want to pipe back about forfeiting pay while being gone, yeah, not a problem. Let the players make their choice. One point here before everybody chimes in. That's not up to the NHL. That's up to the IOC and the IIHF. So what Marchand is talking about is not in their control. And I'm sorry. The players want to be paid full. They want to be whole. They want to get their 80% after escrow. They were just as much making a decision to not go to the Olympics in the end as the owners were. The owners were and Bettman were very at the forefront and forthcoming and saying they didn't want to go, but they agreed to it. This whole thing became a moot point when 65 games got canceled.
You're never going to get if you think that the players were all of them were going to be behind this. I think it's maybe maybe a slight majority of it probably in this circumstance, or at least in the ones who were influential enough to probably go that way. Again, it's speculation on my part, but I think it's been reported by Emily Kaplan and others. There is a sizable contingent of NHL players that are not happy with this decision.
Yeah, again, when you use the word disappointing, there's more disappointing things going on in the world. So to Brad Marchand, you're with the $7 million or plus you make a year, it's a very easy decision for you. I get it. Guess what? You don't always get what you want either. So shut up.
Right. I mean, Jan, I understand. Connor McDavid skated with Sidney Crosby during the offseason. It was his life goal to play with Sidney Crosby in an Olympics. I know that Austin Matthews wanted to play with Patrick Kane for Team USA. I get that. I understand that. And that might happen in a year or two in a World Cup of Hockey, and that maybe that's not the same thing as the Olympics. But the reality here is that, especially with that 5-week window in terms of quarantining, that if you have Connor McDavid go over there and he tests positive and he's held there for 5 weeks, goodbye your friggin' season, Edmonton Oilers. Goodbye.
So, we may not agree with Marchand, but look, the media has always complained that players give milk dose quotes to everybody, right? That they don't tell you how you feel. So on the flip side, you can't complain when a guy is actually giving you how he feels.
Do you believe that this is his actual feeling?
No, but I do believe, as Anthony said, there is a large contingent of players who want to go.
Then say what you say. Don't speak for others.
That's
what he's trying to do.
I think that's exactly what he is doing.
But he may be saying what he wants to say. You may
and
disagree with it. But he's entitled to have that opinion. And we may think that, look, you're missing lots of points. You're short-sighted in your view. But there are a lot of people who will say, you know what? I agree 1,000% with what he's saying.
Nobody has to.
But the league as a whole has made a decision. You can disagree with it. You're not going to change their minds. And you may bring up some valid points. But this was negotiated between the two sides. Yeah. The agreement was reached.
He has to shut up about a lot of things. But that's fine.
I'd rather have him not take the party line and tell me how you really think.
He's entitled to his opinion. He's entitled to express his opinion. But he's also entitled to be wrong because he is.
Okay, that's fine. You state that
your view, though.
I'm not going to tell him to shut up.
Right. No.
I just felt like telling him to shut up, Ant, and I did. That's all. As far as Connor McDavid, maybe he can invite Sidney Crosby and try and over his house and trying to, basically explain to him why he has an all-black kitchen, because I can't explain that. I don't know why. It doesn't look good. I don't know who designed that for him, but makes no sense. Maybe Crosby could shed some light on it.
Just like black cars are the worst thing to buy because you can't keep them clean. Imagine a black kitchen.
I hate to break this to you. I had an all black car for the most part. The worst part of it is this: the summer.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Anthony, I had a black Honda for 9 years, and I loved it. When it was clean, it looked fantastic. The problem is you can never keep it clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one raindrop, and there's the whatever acid rain or whatever. It looks friggin' terrible. You can never keep it clean. So it's just no. I don't get it. But yeah, I mean, okay. And like I said, I get the disappointment. Part of me, even though I was saying they shouldn't going back to last summer, part of me like, okay, yeah, boy, it would be cool to see Matthews against McDavid.
Yeah, we get it.
Right. Okay. And, I know that the World Cup of Hockey is not going to be the same thing, but at least the NHL, the NHLPA, and the IIHF will make money on the World Cup of hockey instead of putting it into those corrupt assholes at the IOC and lining their pockets and going to every authoritarian government for Olympics. The Soviet Union in 1980 and Yugoslavia in 84 and China a couple times. How about going to countries where you can actually have no oppression and freedom instead of going to authoritarian regime? Yeah, no.
Which flag is he waving?
That's a good question.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Well, it'll be in Italy in 4 years, Mike. So you should hopefully not have those problems.
Oh, exactly. Mike's all good on that, unless of course we have a Mussolini-style government in 4 years. Then we'll hear from Michael then.
Let's just hope Berlusconi is not in power again. So tonight we have, I think
and Mike has just pissed off an entire group of people.
What? Because I said Berlusconi? What? No. Tonight we have three games. It was supposed to be 4.
As of this moment.
Yeah, let's see what happens in a few hours.
Fingers crossed. The Canadians and the Lightning, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Kings, and the Coyotes and the Sharks. So,
Canadians. Let's talk about the Canadians game, because that is going to resemble, and I did watch a chunk of the Saints game because I wanted to see what they would look like. 10 players down, 4th quarterback in. I get that. Was it Ian Book? His parents were there, and they're so happy to see him play. He's never going to play again for the Saints because he's not an NFL quarterback. We are going to start to see some NHL games like that, and it is fun to see some of the young guys at the beginning. Believe me, where the fun doesn't happen is if you're paying $65 or $75 a seat, and you're seeing some of that, and that's where this could get bad quickly. We're going to have fun with the
Colts next week, battling for a playoff spot with Carson Wentz out and Sam Erlinger quarterbacking them in their attempt to make a play.
Well, but let's keep it to hockey and say this could happen. This could happen to the NHL in a matter of weeks just by shouldering on.
Well, okay. Here is your lineup. Here's your lineup for the Montreal Canadiens.
Let's hear it.
But now, by the way, Sean Day, former.
I know him.
We know him well.
Andre, former top prospect. He will be playing his first NHL game for Tampa Bay tonight. So,
I'm happy for him.
We're expecting him to score against the Rangers on New Year's Eve because every ex-Ranger scores against the Rangers in their first game against them.
Here are the Canadians' lines for tonight. Jonathan Drouin, Nick Suzuki, and Brendan Gallagher is their top line. Ryan Paling centering Cole Caulfield and Raphael Harvey Pinard is their second
household
line.
name there. Yeah.
Second line. Jake Evans centering Alex Bazile and Jesse Yalonen on the third line. And Michael Pizzetta, Cedric Paquette, and Lucas Vejdemo is the fourth line. And I mean, I'm butchering some of these. I'm sorry.
Mike, will they be selling some of these sweaters at the gift shop there at the Bell Center?
Well, it's in Tampa, so
it's in Tampa, so no. Okay,
so
but will they be selling them online at the NHL shop?
Yes.
And who's Tampa got in the lineup? Because I think their goalies are also in COVID protocol.
Yeah, both goalies are in COVID. Yes.
Right. So, and let me just finish here. Romanoff and Savard, Kulak, and Kale Clegg, who they claimed off of waivers from LA. Sammy Niku and Corey Schwinneman.
Wow.
Is the third.
Yeah.
And
Sammy Niku, who never got a chance with Winnipeg.
Well, he did.
Well, for a minute.
And Samuel Monteblot is the starting goaltender for Les Habitants.
So that's a good 4-goal effort there that they're going to give up. Who's in for Tampa?
This was only. I'll see if I can find it, but this was tweeted out by Montreal. So let me check the NHL website and see if they have a lineup. But let's just say, yes, this is going to be the reality. This is going to be, what's going to happen here over the next few weeks. I mean, Toronto is one of the few teams that was lucky in the sense that their games got postponed this week because they didn't have anybody to call up. They had
Was Michael Bunting healthy? Do we know?
Yes, he was, Russ. Yeah, he was. Okay, so
the Lightning will have Maxime Lagasse in net tonight for them.
Lagasse, yeah.
Yes. And Alnefelt, the former Swedish junior goaltender, is the backup.
Okay.
Let's see.
They have a Russian goalie. I think it's a goalie, Mitnikov. I'm surprised they're not using him, but maybe they just want him to keep playing in the A. So, all right.
Right now, defensively, it doesn't seem that they're really all that.
Sergachev is out and Chernak is out. So
right, but they'll have
and Cirelli's out also for them up front.
Points back.
Yeah. They'll have Hedman and McDonough, so they'll probably play 35 minutes. It'll be like Shabbat against the Flyers. They'll play 35 minutes.
And I think Braden Point is back tonight also.
There you go. Braden Point is back.
So Tampa's winning this game, like it's not even a question.
Yes, no, it's not. But here's the reality. It's like, I mean, and Anthony, the thing that the news that came down yesterday is going to have an effect not only on the NFL, which is I was watching NFL Network this morning, and they said, well, the CDC said that the amount of time to recover, you could go down from 10 days to 5 days, but that was supposedly for only like healthcare workers. But NFL was already saying, well, if the CDC says it's only 5 days, we're going to limit the players can come back in 5 days. And the NFL will do it, then the NBA will do it. And
everybody tail that wags the dog. We know.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, that is the reality.
Money's being lost, guys.
Yeah.
Money's going up in flames. Can't have that happen.
Now, yeah. So now, Russ, John Van Beesbrook is head of USA Hockey, and there's still a little confusion about what is going to happen for the Olympics and where they're going to pick up these players. The point that Kevin made yesterday about like Swedish players in the SHL or maybe Russian players in the KHL, maybe less that because the Russians will probably say, we don't care if you're quarantined for 5 weeks, just go. But, these guys might not want to go to Russia or to China for the Olympics.
Yeah, I think John had, tried to set some things up and has these hopes that he's a very patriotic guy. Like I've interviewed him.
Thanks. That's what I was looking for the cue. Thank you. I was
Yeah,
gonna do it. Thank you.
even
2 flags this show. Let's go.
Believe it or not, even at the Winter Classic alumni game, he still had his USA bucket with him and showed it off to us in the locker room. So he's a very patriotic guy. So in his view, he's probably thinking everybody should want to play for their country. But I will also use a counter proposal from our friend Adam Woden, co-author of mine, who runs College Hockey News, the best college hockey website on the internet. And he's basically like, I don't think John understands the college hockey culture enough to know that, like what we talked about, is Michigan going to be willing to give up 5 players to do this? Now, an interesting thing that Michigan did already, because they're missing 5 players for the World Juniors, they decided, we're just going to cancel the game against Michigan State. We're just not going to play it. We'll skip that one. And apparently there's nothing, you could just do that.
They're postponing it or canceling?
No, they just canceled it off their schedule.
Wow.
Because they probably felt like they couldn't win it. And so, are they going to do that for another 4 or so games for the Olympics? I don't think so. That's the question.
Yeah, no.
And the Van Beesbrook choice has not been met with wide praise, given his issues in the past that he's never apologized for. So it was not particularly well received, them naming him as the GM for the team.
And Funky in the chat says the Russians will play Datsuk and Kovalchuk and Voyanov. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
That it's gonna. Shipachyov is going to probably play. It's going to be the KHL All-Stars. That's who's going to play for, and Russia will probably win because they'll have the even though Datsuk is 65,000 years old. I mean, and Kovalchuk,
he'll still play well, Mike. He'll
still play well. Yeah, of course, he's still playing. So of course, I just want to mention this because we mentioned Montreal, and Ak posted a rumor regarding.
Wait, one question: could Yager be a dual citizen? Maybe he could play for the U.S. No.
No, Tom. Come on, it's gonna be Yager and Thomas Cabaret. Krejci will probably play for the.
Probably.
He's Slovakian, isn't he? I think he's Slovakian. No, wait, he's Czech.
He's Czech.
He's Czech. Yeah. So, no. So there was talk about Patrick Marleau playing for Canada and Bobby Ryan for Team USA. So
I think Ryan is probably fairly much a given to probably play if they ask me.
It's like the senior tour for the PGA.
Great.
It's like a.
Can they move the tees up?
It's like it has a splash of Spengler Cup. It has a splash of.
Yes.
I don't know. It's just the wide age gap here is going to be. Almost 70s to 80s levels of difference.
I remember when Cujo went to play for the Spengler Cup and then got a job, I think, with Calgary after he played well. I wonder if he still got his equipment. Maybe Canada could sign him up. Roberto Luongo, Marty Brodeur. Anyway,
David Ayers. Yeah.
David Ayers. He could clear the ice, Russ. He could do the Zamboni.
Listen, Mike, he's a goalie first.
I know.
And he can beat Toronto.
No, it doesn't seem like you do know.
And he can beat Toronto, Mike. So
and he's a Facebook friend of both Russ and myself. So.
He's undefeated against the Leafs.
Great, wonderful. So Ak posts a rumor regarding Ben Sherratt, who I think most of us would admit. First of all, Montreal's not making the playoffs, and anything not nailed down is going to probably get moved by Jeff Gorton. The question is, what will Montreal get in terms of a return and where? Now, I think Sherratt will draw a first-round pick because there is not many.
Yeah, I agree.
Defensemen out there, and he was in the Cup final last year. He's tough. He can play minutes. Where I think Ek gets it wrong is where he thinks is going, and he's only reporting what his sources are telling him. But whoever his source is, I think is taking hallucinogens because the Islanders are done. They're friggin' done. And Lou is not going to trade the type of assets it would take to get Sherratt.
And he's not the best puck mover either. He doesn't help them other than playing better defense. But like they still have to move the puck up the ice.
Right. If it was John Klingberg,
yes, that would make a little more sense.
That would make sense. But because if Lou has not given up on the fantasy of making the postseason, he knows that he needs somebody to replace Devin Taves and somebody to replace Nick Leddy. And Ben Sherratt ain't it. No. Ben Sherratt makes more sense for say an Edmonton who's looking for a left shot defenseman, and he's a guy who would play in your top four and help them. I still think they need a goaltender over a defenseman and Anthony, but that makes sense. The Island, I mean, I
mentioned the team too.
I will say they do need D. I think Diaz is as important for Edmonton as goaltending.
It is. I will say also a team like the Rangers could be interested because if you put Sherratt in there instead of Patrick Nemeth, you may be talking about a team that could go a few rounds in the playoffs now that they have the goaltending, if Shesterkin is still healthy at the time, and a much better D if you put Sherratt on that D.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Here. Let's go through some of the teams here because, Jan, with the Rangers, and I'm not talking specifically. If you want to mention a specific player that's out there, go ahead. But with the Rangers, I don't think they obviously don't need goaltending help. I don't think they need defensive help. I think if they need help, it's probably either a center or a wing who can play in the top six.
So I would agree with Russ, third pair. So interesting that Zach Jones is up. Zach Jones was called up as one of the 6 taxi squads. I wrote yesterday, it'd be interesting to see how teams use these taxi squads. Are you calling up veterans who are ready to go at a moment's notice? Or are you really reaching into your farm system and bringing up prospects and having them play on your taxi squad as opposed to getting the minor league experience? The Rangers have kind of done the hybrid with the 6 guys they've called up. I mean, they called up Gettinger, but they've also called up Matthew Robertson. They called up Zach Jones. They called up Morgan Barron. Jones is actually, I think, traveling with the team to Florida for the game tomorrow night because Ryan Lindgren is out due to COVID protocol. Right now, Tenorti came off the protocol, went on the protocol list. Nemeth came off the list. So right now you're looking at Libor Hayek paired with Adam Fox, which scares the tar out of every Ranger fan going against Alexander Barkov tomorrow, which is why it would not shock me if you see Jones. Right. So the Rangers could get a D-man, but you also have Zach Jones and Braden Schneider, who would have been called up and maybe on protocol. They definitely need a third-line center, in my opinion, because they want to move Philip Hedl off of wing and off of center to wing.
Yeah, they have to move off the center. I agree.
Put him in wing. B, they still need, and again, guys on my blog are tired of hearing me talk about it, but since they dealt Bugnevich to St. Louis, you have a massive hole in a top 6 winger, especially on the right side. Kakko has actually played better, but they still need another one, and with Sammy Blais out for the year, you critically need that. A lot of Thomas Hertl's names come up a bunch.
Yeah, they can't afford Hertl, though.
You can if you want to pay for him, but he's an RFA with arb rights, which means you may only get him as a rental. But there are a bunch of guys who are out there as rentals that you could potentially get. I mean, look, a lot of people talked about Jeff Carter. Well, Pittsburgh's in the race. Jeff Carter's not going anywhere right now. But a type like that is who the Rangers are going to look to acquire. And I think they have $10 million in cap room. So money at this point in time is really no object. It's more the life of a deal. You don't want a guy you're going to have to sign for next year because you need to figure out what you're doing with Ryan Strome. And you've signed Mika Zibanejad to an extension, and you've signed.
Can we all just admit Ryan Strome's going to be a Ranger? He's going to get another contract. Right, if Panarin says, "I want to play with Ryan Strome," Ryan Strome gets a contract.
Right, but I'm saying is you cannot afford to get a guy with term because if you're going to want to find Strome, you're not going to have additional money to be able to add both of them.
No, that makes sense. Yeah,
and rental centers. A guy like Nemestikov is a rental center.
Been there, done that. Done that.
Chris Tierney with Ottawa. I'm talking about teams that are, I
don't think Ottawa wants to give up Tierney. I'll be honest. They really like him there, and he's there on a favorable contract too.
Well, it's to 3.5, and he's a UFA at the end of the year. It's a rental.
He is a UFA. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's a rental. He's a rental.
Tierney sounds like a guy who could be on the Rangers too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. As a rental, he'd be good.
Yeah, and rentals are us, also known as the Arizona Coyotes. I'm sure we'll get a lot of calls.
Phil Kessel, your favorite.
Yeah, do you think Phil Kessel on the Rangers fits?
Phil Kessel,
No.
stick him on the right wing on one of the top two lines, and I
No.
think it's an option, Russ. It's an option.
Sabretz is clapping their hands. I am not.
You know what, Russ? When you score 400 goals in your NHL career, saying how out of shape he is. 400 goals and 900 points is pretty darn good for a guy that's made fun of his entire career.
No. How many over-the-hill guys have you seen in your life?
Rental. His contract.
It doesn't matter. If you bring him, it's going to cost you assets. Why would you give up assets for a guy that hasn't played well in years? In a market that has a lot of media which he doesn't like and a lot of pressure which he doesn't like.
Okay, moving past the Rangers, Florida. To me, I look at their roster. It's got to be defense. When you've got Ekblad is excellent, Uyghur is playing really well, but then you've got Montour and Gudas and Gustav Forsling. Gustav Forsling, who is a Quenneville favorite. So I think they need, they could be in on Sherratt as well.
So. I think far more likely, and they've got the assets to make. I think they got the assets to make it happen too.
Yeah, I'm going to say this too, just for the chat room's sake. I don't think Chychrun goes anywhere. I don't think you can get a favorable price for the whole enterprise without Chychrun. So I don't think he's going anywhere.
I also get another Flyer fan asking me about Chychrun.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go.
Because his dad played for the team does not mean he's trading him.
I know.
If you trade Chychrun, just liquidate the franchise. Just like
that's what I'm saying. You got to leave some players there for the next owner.
But the thing is, from the Chychrun point of view, Russ, maybe he doesn't want to be there because
but he doesn't have any power to leave.
Right. Yeah, he's not going to hold out. He's not going to. No. Carolina. I don't know if they're going to do anything because they're loaded at forward. Their defense has been pretty good in spite of losing Dougie Hamilton, and they've cast their lot with Anderson and Ranta. So I think that short of an injury happening, I don't think they're going. They're going to really do anything at the deadline.
They'll get a depth defenseman to make Rod Brind'Amour happy because he wants to have a fleet of defensemen, and so that's what they'll do.
Now, and the blue line, I think, is actually I think their mix is better now, even without Hamilton.
Yeah,
I like Bear.
Bear was. I mean, that was a gift
to me in many ways. Losing Bear now, all of a sudden, Edmonton, if they're getting interested in Sherratt, are basically trying to figure out. It's Fogley as a depth forward. It's like the offseason. I just kind of shook my head at. With Edmonton when they traded Bear.
But
I'll tell you someone who Edmonton can get. If the Flyers fall out, Justin Braun would make sense for Edmonton.
Yeah, I can see that. If they fall out.
Toronto, and I'll ask you this, Anthony, because I know Kevin and I talked about it on this show earlier. I don't know if it was the show that you were on or not, but we talked about Toronto and Ristolainen because Ristolainen, if the Flyers are not in the mix as we get closer to the deadline, Ristolainen, right-hand shot. I don't know whether the Flyers are going to spend the money that
they've been very publicly they've had a lot of praise for Rasmus.
They have.
I think their intention is that they like what they see, and I think their intention is that they do want to re-sign him.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, with his age, right-hand shot. Physical size. They've liked the way he and Travis Sanheim have played together.
Sure.
And listen, could it also be seen as, hey, we want to make sure to let everybody know if you are going to try to trade for him, we're looking to recoup, that plus of what we gave up to get him by talking him up. But I do think it's genuine that they really like what they've seen out of Ristolainen so far. And I think they do want to. The feel I get is they want to keep him and keep.
But do you think there's a possibility of them? Because we've seen it happen a few times in the league where we want to sign you, but we can get a first round pick. We can get a really good return at the deadline. We'll talk to you in July when the.
No, the Flyers won't do that. If they really want to keep him, they will make the overtures and
They'll figure it out. They'll look and see where they're at and where they're going to be subtracting and budgeting and saying this is what we're going to be looking to give you. But I can tell you, I know that he's grafted himself into that locker room pretty well. He's a well-liked guy in that room. And they've wanted, and the thing is, the Flyers have wanted Ristolainen for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think they want to have him for the long term because, again, I do think he gives that blue line an element that they really have not had consistently with some, someone who's physical with some snarl, who's got some skill. It's not a Pronger thing, but it is a young guy that they can feel like they can work with long term.
You don't have to sell me on Ristolainen.
No,
I think
how they view, I'm just saying how they view it.
I think he's excellent. I think they should keep him. I don't know whether they're going to be willing to pay him, close to $6 million, which he's probably going to want on a long-term deal.
I think they're going to get wowed. And I mean, I hate to use that cliche phrase, but again, they're going to have to get they have to be out of it, and they have to get out. But I think even then they would have to get wowed. And
then what you have to worry about, and we've seen this with other teams, Jan, is that you've got Provorov making over $6 million, you've got Ellis making over $6 million, and then conceivably you could have Ristolainen making close to or over $6 million. You probably can't afford Travis Sanheim making what he's making if you have 3 $6 million plus defensemen.
Right, and Sanheim's got one more year left at $4.6 million. So I don't know kind of how they fit all these guys in. And
well, it depends on Claude Giroux too. Like that's another part of the equation.
That's going to be the fun one. And I know that a lot of Ranger fans, I mean, they would be dying to get Giroux. I just don't know if Philly
won't trade him.
If Philly's really out of it, do they even go to Giroux and gauge his interest in moving, or do you think that because he's been such a fixture, they are on that team? Do they just say, yeah, it might be the right move, but because of the backlash we might get, we're not going to do it?
I think the fact that they were waiting until when they decided not to do an extension this off season, that I think is mutual on both sides. I think Claude wants to see where things are at, where they're at as a team, and if the Flyers have to make a decision at age 34, going forward from here, they could. He takes up a lot of space that can be used in other areas. That being said, I think he's having a very good season. Yep. It is again a contract season, so I expect that I think he is for the most part said the right things in terms of the demand of the as the captain demand. I feel like this year seems to be more of a push and a demand on his part, especially in publicly on where they need to be. Again, the whole the question was asked of him in press conference yesterday. Falling back on COVID issues again. And he says, look at other teams in the league. We got no excuses. And the thing is, those excuses were used last season.
Right.
I can tell you for the guys on my blog, I mean, Hurdle is probably, one of the guys I want, but Giroux is the guy they're drooling over.
Sure.
If he became available because he feels, first of all, faceoffs is a major issue for the Rangers, and he would fill a massive need.
I would warn you, though, in terms of him as this, if you are envisioning him as, I think they're playing him at center right now. And again, part of that is just the situation that they're in right now and just how they're converted, and they need to have strength down the middle. He is playing center. That being said,
could he be a third line center? Because remember, he wouldn't be a first or a second line probably on that team with Strome and Zib there. Granted experience, but given where both guys are, Zib is the number one. Strome has got the chemistry with Panarin. You're likely not going to upset those top two lines. Giroux, it seems odd as a third line winger, but it takes a lot of pressure in terms of who he's facing off against if he moves on.
He can still take face-offs as a winger, though.
He does. And Philly has done that where they've swapped him out. If he's played on a line with Hayes or he's played on a line with Couturier or wherever else.
Yeah, especially the offensive zone face-offs. They still put Giroux in there sometimes.
For now, they have him at center. They've had him at center for a bit here. And they're continuing to do so. And again, one thing that comes in handy with him is that if you do acquire him, that he's a very high-level versatile player in terms of where you can play him in that lineup.
Right. It gives you the flexibility. They can use him all over. I'm just saying, I don't know if Philly's going to move him. Granted, that's going to be a lot of boardroom conversations that have to happen as we approach the March deadline, especially depending on where they are in the stands and everything else.
Really out of it. Like there is, we get to late February, early March, and there is just no chance in hell. And just saying maybe that conversation, and then the conversation may happen.
Just going back to Toronto here, if Ristolainen is not on the market, the market for right-hand shot defensemen in terms of rentals, and I think they want a rental, is really thin. And
that's why I said Braun could be,
what's their cap space, Mike?
Oh, I mean, they're going to have a third team to shave 25% off. It's going to have to be retention on two teams to get. They probably have less than $1 million in cap space. So it's going to be something that's going to cost them. But I think that they think that they're close enough that if they add a defenseman. But the problem is if past Ristolainen, like Colin Miller is not an impact defenseman. Maybe somebody can play on the bottom pairing. I know that, and I mentioned him last week. He played for the Sioux, which is always something that Kyle Dubas looks for because he knows them as defensemen. But like the other big names, Klingberg and Sherratt, are lefties. So and I don't think they're going to trade a first round pick for a left hand shot defenseman to play on the third pair. Unless they think they may trade for a third pair defenseman if they think Liljegren can handle top four duty. But right now, I think they want a veteran there because
what if this other team, Mike, whether it be the Flyers or somebody else with a right-hand shot defenseman wants Alex Kerfoot? Are you going to make the deal this time?
They're not going to trade Kerfoot this year. Not.
Well, then you might not get the right shot defenseman this year. You're acting like you're on one hand you're saying it's a very thin market, and then on the other hand you're giving this path. Like it's going to happen to the Leafs, and there's a bunch of teams that are going to want it. They're going to have to give up more than Travis Dermott. I can tell you that.
Well, no, they'll probably give up draft picks, but this is the thing. It's like if they were trading Kerfoot, and Kerfoot's been effective this year playing on the second line as a winger, then that would open it up to getting a player who has term left because Kerfoot has another year or two after this year. Then okay, but then you're opening up a whole new slew of possibilities in terms of righty defensemen out there. But I don't know. I think that they're going to end up probably trading Dermott or trading Justin Hall in the deal. That might be where they save money instead of the team retains 50%.
Whoever's getting Justin Hall back.
In dire need of another second round pick because we know that Arizona doesn't have enough of them. So maybe they can help facilitate the deal to take on some salary.
I don't know if a team really wants Justin Hall back. You will have to pay a team to take Justin Hall back.
Right. And you only have first and second round picks this year, Mike, and nothing after the first two rounds this year.
But Russ, you've got Arizona who has one defenseman who is under contract next year, or two, excuse me, Chikrin and Gostisbehere.
But this ownership may not care about that. And they may see the writing on the wall.
No, he's a body. He's a body.
That's you can go out in the free agent market.
For the writing on the wall there, Cohen.
He's a body. I mean. Right. I mean,
so are you, Mike, but they're not signing you up to play right-handed defense.
I haven't
played in the NHL in a long time.
That foot speed might be a bit lacking.
I haven't played in the NHL in a long time.
I'm being sarcastic.
What NHL are you talking about?
Stratomatic hockey.
National Home League.
No.
Northern New York Hockey League? What is that?
The other team, as Kevin has said, the Tampa Bay Lightning at the deadline will find some way to add someone, and it'll be somebody of a significant impact.
I mean, besides Nikita Kucherov that's coming back.
Right. I mean, they're getting Point back. They're getting Kucherov back. They'll be completely healthy, or hopefully, knock on wood for them. And they'll find some way to add somebody, whether it's the Cal Clutterbuck or so, they'll
get that Joe Thornton type of player at some position that a team wants to trade to a contender in hopes of winning a cup, and it'll be a favorable deal. That's the kind of guy they'll get.
Like Chara?
Maybe.
Yeah. So,
I mean, think about that for a second. How many gigantic trees do they have on that Tampa defense?
I know.
Yeah, but Chara's been horrific this year. So
Mike, are you saying the Islander season is over? Is that what you're saying by saying that?
Let me see.
Let's check the transcript for the last 15 shows.
Yes. Let's do that. Yeah.
There it is.
I thought homemade signs weren't allowed in the arena.
Yeah. And so is the show. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Anthony. Thank you, Jan. For Anthony Mangione, for Jan Levine, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. Okay. goddamn button wouldn't press.